Hey guys, Omni here. We are finally going to be checking out New Rockstar's breakdown of episode 1 of Obi-Wan. I know I'm a little late getting around to this. This came out a few days ago, but I've been really putting my focus on getting through all the episodes of Stranger Things Season 4, so I do apologize. I finally caught up. Now I just have to worry about releasing the episodes on the channel throughout the rest of the week. But we had Obi-Wan and 7 episodes of that show. 9 episodes of shows that dropped on the same day, so I apologize. I should be caught up at this point, and we'll be on schedule next week for the next episode, so keep an eye out for that. And I'm going to be banging out these 2 breakdowns here today for episodes 1 and 2, so keep an eye out for the episode 2 video here shortly after this one, so let's jump in.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 1. So we open on Coruscant, and right away we should be worried, because there's only one reason this series would return here. So we all know Order 66
that
happened.
cut.
Why do we need to revisit it again? Well, look closely at the first youngling we see. I think that might be a young Reva, future third
Pretty sure
sister
she's
of
the only one that had a
The
speaking
Inquisitors
line
were
during this
mostly
entire
former
section,
Jedi.
at least
Either
from the
one's on
kids.
fence with the Jedi orthodoxy and easily flipped, or one's captured and tortured into servitude. And we don't see what happens to
seen
these
that with
younglings
Trilla
yet,
as well.
but I'm willing to bet one of these kids became Reva, because later in this episode she says,
The Jedi are cowards. They failed you, abandoned you.
remember, Obi-Wan didn't get to the temple until it was too late. That could be Reva's grudge against him.
What is it you think you will gain by capturing him?
When I'm old.
But in the opening shot, one of the high-rises we see is likely 500 Republica, the VIP residence where currently Padme Amidala is residing. Wondering where Anakin is, we glide from the urban sprawl past lush green hedges, a natural, seemingly protective barrier to this serene youngling training session, a session with no lightsabers, leaving these younglings particularly defenseless. Now, their Jedi Master is credited as Minas Velti, a Jedi Master we didn't know about until now. Either way, R.I.P. Deborah Chow switches to Steadicam when the 501st clone troopers burst in, showing the chaotic perspective of
they
the
look so
huddling
good
younglings.
too.
Chow makes it so harrowing. Very little cutting, the camera moving like a war photojournalist. Constantly, Velti checks back in with her students. And
It's
her swan
visceral,
song
man.
is just so
I
beautiful to watch.
loved
the acrobatic
this.
twirls and fluid movements just not enough to overcome the constant barrage of blasts. So the younglings are forced to flee.
As more and more go down at their flanks.
Hear Palpatine's voice on the speakers of the temple. The PA system, really just one plane of Execute Order 66, is enough to activate the clone troopers' inhibitor chips, but after we saw some, like Rex, resist, clearly Palpatine wants his voice on repeat now in the Jedi Temple so that there are no defections. Now, I scoured this massacre looking for Anakin, nada, and Grogu, grata, but as the fighting Jedi are gunned down, as we cut to black, you can see 2 green-bladed Jedis remaining fighting. That one on the right even pulls off a gnarly force push. Obviously, there's way more clone troopers in there. Maybe one of these 2 were able to get away. Might have even been that Jedi Master who broke free and managed to get Grogu out of the temple. The opening title card hides the shape of Obi-Wan's lightsaber in the eye. All of this blew on screen as sand, a little tease for how Obi-Wan actually buried his lightsaber in the sand. On to Mos Eisley 10 years later. Now, 10 years after Revenge of the Sith is the year 9 BBY, 9 years before the events of A New Hope. The Inquisitors' transport ship soars overhead, its shadow cutting down the street like a gaping mouth, Pac-Man style. Ready to devour all of these townsfolk. The twin prongs of the ship reflect the twin spires of Darth Vader's castle on Mustafar. Also in the trailers, the shape of their chairs in their fortress Inquisitorius on Nur. We meet 3 of the Inquisitors being Jedi hunters created by Palpatine and given to Darth Vader to command. They're all former Jedi, or at least Force sensitive, and they're led by the Grand Inquisitor, Rupert Friend, a Pauan, a race that we actually saw in Revenge of the Sith on Utapau, but his appearance has been toned down here. Also toned down from how the character looks in Rebels Season 1 when he was voiced by Jason Isaacs. But he was a former Jedi guard actually present for the trial of Ahsoka Tano when Ahsoka was falsely accused and ended up leaving the Jedi Order. Sung Kang plays the 5th brother, who also shows up in Rebels alongside the 7th sister, all of that taking place about 5 years after this. Moses Ingram plays a new character, Reva, the 3rd sister. I like how this overhead shot really emphasizes the Grand Inquisitor's red tattoos like daggers aimed out at everyone, also reflecting the points of that ship. His eyes are a fiery yellow, better matching the character's eyes in Rebels. He tells the saloon proprietor,
"In actuality, I would say the Jedi hunt themselves."
Dude, this gave me some real, like,
Grand
Inglorious
Inquisitor eyes
Bastard
the Jedi in
vibes.
the corner, Nari, Benny Safdie, indicating that he might know at this point who the Jedi is in the room, but he draws it out because the 2017 Darth Vader comics by Charles Soule show how the Grand Inquisitor sees himself as a bit of an academic. This guy was denied access to the temple archives by Jocasta Nu, so now he takes this opportunity to lecture the room on Jedi Orthodoxy.
I'm sorry, Jocasta Nu, man, she frustrates me so much. I've had it up to here with that lady ever since she, like, shaded Obi-Wan. Oh, anyway. The fact that you had to fight her in the PS2 game, too, was kind of fun and interesting. But, you know, this goes to show that he probably more than did know that that guy was the Jedi. You know, like Eric pointed out, he had given that a little bit of the side eye. But the whole thing is Reva's impatience, her impetulance, her aggressive nature to get what she wants. And that's his thing. He's like, the whole lesson here he's trying to impart is patience, tact. They need to just rein it in. Still, some of his Jedi teachings seeping into this, utilized in a proper way for what they're using them for, which is why he kind of gives off that Christoph Waltz kind of vibe from Inglourious Basterds, coming in as your friend, coming in and sitting down, and then building up until you're in his clutches. And that was, he probably would have had this fully under control, if not for Reva. But that's part of her character arc, I'm willing to bet. So we'll see how this evolves.
As a sickness.
Jedi cannot help what they are. Their compassion leaves a trail. The Jedi code is like an itch. He cannot help it.
I love
We
this
see
monologue.
all the evidence of a Jedi scuffle in this place from the Grand Inquisitor's Sherlockian point of view. The lightsaber burns on the wall, the bandage on the proprietor's hand from when the bandits robbed him. But Reva subverts the Grand Inquisitor's lecture and forces the Jedi's hand, showing she was totally willing to murder that proprietor.
What she's after scraps.
Scraps are all we have left.
Then we should be hunting bigger prey.
He is not yours to find. We are past this third sister.
Interesting. So the Inquisitors now have to be more nuanced to find these better hidden Jedi, but Reva just wants Kenobi. And by telling her, not yours to find, that indicates that the Inquisitors were actually told to leave Kenobi for Vader. On to Obi-Wan Kenobi, now going by Ben Kenobi, his alias from A New Hope. He works his gig harvesting meat from a 5-finned whale-like creature in the Dune Sea. I like how you can see workers on the higher levels of the scaffolding spearing new slits into that carcass. Now, this is not a Purgle. This is a new species on Tatooine, presumably burrowing through the loose sand like the Krayt Dragon does. The Book of Boba Fett repeatedly brought up Tatooine's distant past covered by oceans. This whale could have been an
it's
evolved
definitely not
descendant of that kind of
one
sea life. We get
I
a close-up of his
recognize.
butcher knife. This is the same guy who called blasters so uncivilized compared to lightsabers. And a bloody knife, if you think about it, is a step further. I think it's just a nice point of contrast to the major step back that he takes at the end of this episode. The power droid, aka the gonk droid, says gonk every time it picks it out. I just love
I
that. And then
adore
Ben greets his
gonk
EOB.
droids for
This
some
is a camel-like
fucking
riding
reason.
animal that we last saw Obi-Wan on in Revenge of the Sith when he dropped off Luke with Owen and Beru.
No, he's
In his
feeding
cave
that thing. I
home,
just
Ben
wonder what
stirs
that would
liquid
feel
into
like.
instant stew, evoking Rey's portion bread in The Force Awakens. The Jawa Atika says she could smell Obi-Wan from Anchorhead. Anchorhead being a Tatooine town mentioned in A New Hope.
Tomorrow I want you to take that R2 unit to Anchorhead and have its memory erased.
And she sells him a toy of a T-16 Skyhopper. This is the same toy that we see Luke playing with in A New Hope. Ben tries to give this one to Luke, but Owen throws it back, breaking
Wow,
it. Presumably
I didn't
by the end
even
of the
piece
season,
that
Luke
together.
will get this one, and we will all cry knowing that the toy Luke had with him at the start of A New Hope was a gift from Unky Ben. Tika says that she has a tribe to feed, echoing the meat worker earlier who said that he had a family to feed. Know who else has a family to feed? Not Ben. He grieves the Jedi family he lost when Tika offers him the scavenged Jedi utility belt, just like the one he used to wear as a Jedi Knight. Literally the same kind of costume piece Ewan McGregor would probably wear for years of his life. His nightmares form a prequel highlight reel. Begins with Padme's voice saying, "I know there's good in him." Those were her dying words in Revenge of the Sith. Then the lava of Mustafar, and Anakin lowering the lightsaber on him during their duel there. Obi-Wan screaming, "You were my brother, Anakin, I loved you." Qui-Gon dying in his arms from Phantom Menace when he made Obi-Wan promise to train Anakin. Anakin's red and blue lightsaber flashes while fighting Dooku in Attack of the Clones. Anakin laughing while diving the speeder on Coruscant.
Which
Then Anakin
honestly I
screaming as
found
his face burned off.
unsettling
Padme's
to be
dying breaths
included
again,
with all of
Yoda
these
saying,
scenes.
"Only pain you will find." Which is right before he showed Obi-Wan the security tapes of Anakin killing even the younglings. More dueling on Mustafar, then Maul's killing blow to Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan having the high ground, "You were the chosen one!" Then infant Luke with sounds of a baby crying, then "I hate you!" Padme giving birth, and then Jake Lloyd Anakin in the Naboo starfighter cockpit. And it's interesting to note, Obi-Wan was not present for young Anakin in that starfighter in all of those scenes. Obi-Wan was in the Naboo palace fighting Maul at the time. So that means Obi-Wan isn't just remembering, his mind is also linking with Anakin's personal memories in his present mind. The Force is bringing them together. When Obi-Wan wakes up, he calls out,
Master Qui-Gon. Master.
Remember, Revenge of the Sith ended with Yoda promising to teach Obi-Wan how to commune with Qui-Gon's Force Ghost.
One who has returned from the netherworld of the Force. Your old master.
Qui-Gon?
How to commune with him, I will teach you.
So I am assuming we will see, or at least hear, Liam Neeson cameo at some point this season. Ben passes a scurrier, these are the little desert rats that showed up a lot in the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, and he looks over the Lars homestead, looking just as it did in A New Hope. 10-year-old Luke Skywalker sneaks away from Uncle Owen, Joel Edgerton returning from the prequels, and Aunt Beru, Bonnie Piesse, also back. Beru wears the same outfit as she does in A New Hope, and Luke wears pod racer goggles just like his daddy. Nari finds Ben, who at first adjusts his voice a little bit.
You're making some kind of mistake. My name is Ben.
And when Nari calls his bluff, Obi-Wan finally speaks in his normal voice.
You must leave. You'll draw too much attention.
It's a subtle distinction, but he definitely tried to change it for "My name is Ben."
My name is Ben.
His lightsaber in the ground, which, as we see later, is exactly what he did. And then on to Alderaan. It's our second time
there
seeing
was
it in live
definitely
action
something
after
about
a
his
brief scene
cadence.
in Revenge of the Sith. The
That
girl we see
definitely
dressed in finery is not Leia.
brought
It's
it
a
up.
decoy, a trick that her mother Padme would also use, often
Quite
swapping
often.
places with her handmaiden Sabe on Naboo. Breha Organa is played by Simone Kessel. Rebecca Jackson Mendoza played her in Revenge of the Sith, and young Leia is played by Vivian Lyra Blair, who you may have seen in Bird Box. In addition to all these Padme parallels,
I've never
it's
seen
so
Bird
sweet
Box,
to see
so.
how similar Leia has become to her brother Luke. Both these kids sneak away from their foster parents, they climb the highest point they can, they have droids as their best friends, and they spend all their days staring at ships in the sky. Remember, deleted scenes in A New Hope showed Luke with his friends staring up at the space battle. And Leia, now being so comfortable in these high trees, definitely justifies her smooth transition when she later lives among the Ewoks. Leia spots a medical freighter, a pleasure barge, which she calls boring, as she will later be bored out of her mind as Jabba's slave on his pleasure barge, a casino ship, not bad. And then a Tri-Wing, saying that's a new one. And indeed, the Tri-Wing S91X Pegasus is a new one to Lucasfilm, designed by Doug Chang and his team in 2019 for The Rise of Skywalker in collaboration with Porsche. Leia speculates the pilot is an Aquilian Ranger scouting for Mercen pirates. Deep cuts here. Aquilian Rangers were from George Lucas's second draft of his Luke Starkiller script, a non-Jedi race who carried laser swords and used the Force. They actually appeared in the third draft of the screenplay alongside the Rebels on the Yavin 4, but were later sort of dropped from Star Wars canon. Meanwhile, Mercen pirates is a Legends detail from Mary Jo Duffy's 1979 comics, but they also exist in canon as a separatist group from the 2019 role-playing game. I mean, she just dropped so many Star Wars Easter eggs in like 10 seconds. Young Leia definitely proved herself the ultimate Star Wars nerd. Her droid Lola is awesome.
Down.
For whatever reason, it reminds me of Weebo from
I like how its rings lift up like mouse ears. Queen Breha
Flubber.
says it's like raising a
Don't know why.
Morag, which is a deep cut beast referenced in an article of the Star Wars Adventure Journal. I like how Ben's day repeats beat for beat, shot by shot. A cool way of showing the routine he has to go through. But this time
Love
it ends
it.
with him clashing with Owen.
We talked about this. When the time comes, he must be trained.
Like you trained his father?
Ooh, burn. I mean, no, seriously, he burned him. I love how both Ewan McGregor and Joel Edgerton are vocally emulating the actors who originated these roles, Alec Guinness and Phil Brown. Reva and the fifth brother return, and one woman objects.
We're not under the Empire's.
Yeah, fun fact, WikiLeaks co-host Tommy Bechtold actually auditioned for this part. Also, in the background of the scene is a cameo by Star Wars podcaster Steele Saunders, another guy we ran into here at Star Wars Celebration. The fifth brother leaves a bounty puck for Nari, the same kind of bounty puck that we saw on The Mandalorian. Owen ends up not giving up Obi-Wan, but he says,
I didn't do it for you.
that's because he did it for Luke, because if Obi-Wan was captured, they would figure out why Obi-Wan was on the planet and then come after Luke. The Organas greet their relatives, Duke Ko, Duchess Selly, and cousin Yano. All of them suck.
After the disaster of the Republic, the Empire is finally lining some pockets. Huh?
There are still some issues that we need to address. Slave labor, taxation of the outer rim.
I didn't come here to end slavery, Bella. I came to eat your food. Save the bleeding heart for the Senate.
Poor Bail Organa trying to still make anything good out of his phony role in the Senate. But the reality is, the Empire bribing noble family members like this is exactly what kept leaders like Ko in line. I mean, little good that did them. C-3PO cameos, Anthony Daniels' voice translating one alien language into another. R2-D2 actually appears briefly a little bit later in this episode in the background. Both these
I
droids
didn't
were left
notice
with the
him.
Organas after Revenge of the Sith, but only 3PO's memory was wiped.
Yep.
Young
I noticed
Leia dresses
3PO,
down
I
her
didn't
shitty
notice
cousin,
R2 is what I
wise
mean.
beyond her years. She's only 10 here. It's just fun to imagine 9 years later she will be Carrie Fisher in A New Hope. Leia says she'd rather be digested by a Jacko beast than apologize. Jacko beasts are bantha-sized tundra beasts known for being force sensitive. Bail tells her that he used to want to chase Purrgil. Those were the hyperspace whales that led to the disappearance of Ezra Bridger and Thrawn in Rebels. Leia gets
Can't
kidnapped
wait
by
for
bandits
Ahsoka,
led by
man.
Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and an actor in his own right. Bail and Breha beg
Oh
Obi-Wan to
shit,
help, but he
that's who
refuses
he
the call.
was.
It's
He
been
looked
10
familiar,
years.
I just couldn't place it.
I'm not who I used to be.
And so, in the third act of this episode, we see Obi-Wan completing a third day following the same exact routine until it is broken by seeing Nari's corpse strung up on display. He
Yeah,
comes home
man.
and finds his sensor light, but now blinking red, meaning an intruder, that intruder being Bail, who traveled all the way here for a personal appeal.
There is no one I trust more with my child than you.
Setting up Bail later trusting Obi-Wan again with Leia in A New Hope.
Years ago, you served my
Yeah.
father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire.
So Ben digs up his lightsabers, both his and Anakin's, metaphorically digging up both of these Jedi identities that he had buried. The identities of Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, amazing how there was nothing there marking the spot. He either recognized the shape of the dunes or the shadows at that time of day, maybe used the Force to sense them. Either way, pretty impressive. Reva tells the kidnappers,
He won't be able to help it. The Jedi will hunt himself.
echoing the Grand Inquisitor's wisdom from before. You can always count on a Jedi by forcing their hand to save a life. And the final shot shows Obi-Wan's lightsaber back on his hip, but my favorite detail about this, remember, when he dug it up from the box, it was caked in dust. Now it is shiny and polished, just like we saw him do every day cleaning his butcher knife. This man respects his tools, especially when
Yes,
he knows
he
he's gonna
does.
have to use it again soon. And like this tool, he too has dusted himself off to get out of the dirt and onto a new world. It's such an amazing
And as we see in
start
episode
to the
2, he is a
6-episode
little
series.
rusty.
I'm gonna be breaking down episode 2 in a separate video coming tomorrow. So be sure to subscribe to New Rockstars, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars, and the best way to support New Rockstars is to check out our merch over at New Rockstars.
Check out their store, check out their channels, their links, their socials. Follow these guys, man. Yeah, man, I loved every detail in this episode. I liked everything from beginning to end. There was not a weak link for me personally in the episode. I think everything felt in line with the universe. I liked the way we started. I liked the way we kicked it off. I like where we're starting with all these characters and when we're bringing everything back. The biggest surprise to me was that we introduced a young Leia in here, and who better for us to follow, considering Luke is pretty much locked in to being stuck on the Owens farm. I'm sorry, the Owens farm. The Lars farm until A New Hope. There's very little wiggle room with him. However, Leia has been one of the most mobile characters, and she was never really locked down. She was in this senatorial family. She's got to see the world. It's through Bail that she gets a hand into the rebellion itself. Already, by the time we meet her, well and long established member of the rebellion. So she's been getting her hands out there in all of it. So it makes sense that we would follow her out of any of the Skywalkers given the situation, and then something that I feel would make sense for Obi-Wan to go defense. It's the whole point of separating the twins was to keep them safe, even though he was set up his post with Luke with Leia to the wind. Someone's got to do something, and they can't necessarily call up any old friends at this point. So Bail made the only choice he could, and Obi-Wan really, when it came down to it, made the only choice he could make, and I like that. But she was like a charm. She was a gem, man. I've seen some people complain about and I even kind of like had a little passing thought of like the little chase when she's getting away from the kidnappers or whatever. It was slow or whatever, but it's who fucking cares? I didn't. It was cute. It was funny. That's it. That's all I can need out of it. And then I just found her adorable and charming in episode 2 too, as well. So I'm very curious to learn more about Reva and why. I have my ideas, my theories as to why she's fixated on Obi-Wan, but we'll get to that in another one. So guys, let me know your thoughts. What was your favorite Easter eggs? Is there anything you noticed that was missed here in this breakdown? leave them in the comments. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear. Join our Discord. We can talk about it there as well. Links to that and all my socials in the description box below. Follow me in each and every one of those. Before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends, Mandy Scher, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, Philly Vane, Jorg Coruscant, Margaret Grace, Mary Bradley, Melita, and Robert Anguiano. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. That's it for this one, guys, and I'll see you all in the next breakdown. But before we go, may the Force be with you always. Take care, everybody.